Hey, Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Really excited to interview you and hear about your life.
Mhm.
So, for the people who don't know you, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, like what you're doing, some of your history?
Yeah, my name is Josh Coe, or my composer name is Robert J. Coe. I am an adjunct professor of composition and theory at Stephen F. Austin State University, and I am also a composer. I got my undergrad at SFA and my master's at the University of Houston.
Awesome. So, how did you get into composing to begin with?
I took a music theory class in high school and was interested in how music was put together, and so decided to apply to a few programs and liked SFA quite a bit. So yeah, started composing contemporary classical music at that point, um, and that has snowballed to now.
Snowball. Okay, so you texted me the other day with this brilliant idea of, what did you say, isolation miniatures, I think?
Yeah,
So, how did you come up with this idea? And what
yeah.
is
So I'm sure you've seen that a bunch of arts organizations are making live streams available. People are just thinking through, it's not just music organizations, but a lot of artists in a bunch of disciplines are thinking through, how can we continue to engage with the arts and produce art while we're all stuck at home and we can't go to the venues that we're used to experiencing art in. And so I just find that a really engaging idea, and was thinking through different ways that I could explore that. My music already often deals recently with community, and I'm like big extrovert, so like engaging with people is the fun part of music. So this isolation is not going great for me, but the idea of writing music for people to play in their homes as a sort of um, connection back to like historical salon music, when music was like played in the home more often, and just us being able to continue to like interface and create music was really interesting to me. The miniatures thing was just because I thought it was a lot more feasible for me to churn out some shortish pieces in a few weeks instead of giving you guys a 20-minute piece.
It's more feasible for us to learn it quickly too while we're still in quarantine.
That was totally pragmatic.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you write for us. So
Yeah.
it's going to be for not two piano. I only have one piano in the house.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
And trumpet, right? Because that's
Yeah.
who's quarantined in our house right now.
Yeah, that's the idea. And so on the same lines of community and interfacing with people and collaboration, I've also been interested recently in giving my performers a little bit more say in what they play. So I just finished a song cycle where I wrote 10 songs. I cut it down to 8. I had a friend help me cut it down to 6, and then I gave it to the performers and they cut it down to 4. And so I mean, that obviously adds pressure to me to create quite a bit of music and then let it be whittled down. But the hope is that there's more buy-in when we get to the 4,
Mm-hmm.
and the 4 are better pieces when we get there than if I had a song cycle with 10 pieces.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's awesome that you're that flexible too. With I feel like not everyone is. So
Yeah.
So what kind of thought process do you go through when you start a composition?
I do a lot of just like culling ideas from other musics. So I listen to a lot of different things, either with the genre or the instrumentation that I'm going to be writing for, and outside of that as well. There's a process in like graphic design and in movie making, in film music, called mood boarding, where you like come up with, to pitch an idea, you come up with a bunch of things that you didn't create, but it's essentially just like a Pinterest board. It's just a bunch of things that are in the right world. For graphic design, it's like a lot of visual stuff that could give your client an idea of the direction that you want to go. Or if I was pitching a film to a producer, maybe I could like have clips from different things and different filters that I wanted to show them. And for film music, if I want to show a director like a sound that I'm thinking for the film, maybe I compose an hour of music in a week and none of it makes it into the film, but it's all just an idea to to give them an idea of like the sound world that I'm going for. So that is an important part of my process. Just getting, 15 seconds from this piece by Ligeti and 15 seconds by this Jacob Collier thing, and just like random points of inspiration that hopefully, intermix and congeal into something that is presentable.
Awesome.
Sometimes.
How do you know what is appropriate for each instrument that you're composing for? Like, is that something you actually had to go learn, or is it something you do by trial and error, or?
Yeah, it's
every instrument. I don't know.
Right. No, not at all. That's a great question. Yeah, so we do quite a bit of, that's kind of the focus of composition study, especially early on in the composition degree. You're learning what's idiomatic for the instruments, and idiomatic just means what's commonly played on the instruments. So the music that's idiomatic for a piccolo is not the music that's idiomatic for a trombone, even though both of them might be good musics. The difference is what's idiomatic about them. So you spend a lot of time early in your composition career learning what's idiomatic, and then the more that you can interact with performers, we've done this in the past working on different pieces, the more that you can talk to them and try a crazy idea and see if it works, the better. And that's kind of fun for the performer and the composer if it's done well. Like the performer may find things on their instrument that they wouldn't have thought to do before, and obviously the composer is getting a broader sound palette that they can work with.
Yeah. Do you like actually sit down and say, okay, I need to compose this much every day, or do you just kind of run off of inspiration?
Yeah, another good question. It kind of goes in waves, honestly. It can be really helpful for me to have deadlines. My wife would tell you that like I will not write a note of music if I haven't given myself a deadline. So for instance, right now, kind of as a partner project to this, on social media, I asked people if they would be willing to have me write just like a 30-second miniature for them, and then they could record it and post it within a few days. And like I said, that's kind of a partner project, and that the advantage of that is I'm giving myself an hour every day to write these pieces. And so that's just me sitting down and saying, okay, 30 to 60 seconds of music, I have 1 hour to write and engrave it, and go. With your piece, I have a little bit more flexibility in that we don't have a set deadline, although there's a general deadline of a couple weeks. Talked about, but that's what's been in my mind. But then there's not every day I need to be producing X amount of music. It's just by the end of this much time, I need to have a reasonable amount. Does that make sense?
That is crazy. Are you saying it takes like 1 hour of time of you like sitting down and really focusing in order to create 30 seconds of music?
Oh, that's like minimum. That's a blistering pace.
That's
Yes.
like mind-blowing. That's so much energy and effort. I mean,
there are days,
amazing.
Yeah, there are days when it's quicker than that, or there are kinds of music that lend themselves to being able to produce more. Or like simple example, if I have a slow tempo, it's easier to produce 30 seconds of music than all the information I have to cram in 30 seconds at that tempo, So it's a little bit arbitrary, but that's a decent ratio.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, I think back to like being in theory myself, and when we had to compose our own little songs, and how it took me like 20 hours to write a 1-minute piece. So I don't know why I'm actually that surprised, but it's actually amazing that you can do it in 1 hour. That's amazing. Yeah. But also, I hope it gives people perspective and more appreciation for your art. I mean, it takes so much time and energy and creativity to write 30 seconds of music.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I often tell my students that you can write as much music as you want to. The only determining factor is your standard. So like I could write an hour of music in the next 30 seconds if my standard is literally nothing at all.
Yeah.
If I could just like vamp something and say, do it for an hour, that is an hour of music. So my own standards and preferences and expectations for myself also determine the speed at which I'm able to compose, because I'm not going for 100% when I compose the way that you are in theory, right? There aren't like rules that I have to follow in an assignment fashion.
Do you intentionally try to break rules?
It depends on how rebellious I'm feeling day to day. There are no rules that anyone's expecting from me at this point, but sometimes when I write a parallel fifth, I'm like, yeah.
I love it. So do you have like a stock of, okay, random ideas that you're like, oh, this thing sounds cool, I'm gonna put it in my Google Drive here and then maybe return to it later?
Occasionally, yeah. And there are things that like more or less inform quite a bit of what I do. Like I mentioned Ligeti earlier, and like all of Ligeti's piano etudes, I'm like totally obsessed with. So anytime I'm coming to the piano, I don't have a Google Drive with Ligeti, but I'm always like, it would be great.
I love it.
So
Okay,
there's,
I have to ask.
yeah.
Guitars, ukulele, what else is behind me?
Yeah,
Electric guitar.
There are quite a few instruments in this room. There is also a trumpet, a violin, a djembe, an electric bass.
A what? A djembe?
A hand percussion instrument. I have a little like cornet thing, like a valveless. It's more for decoration, but it is
more for. Do you play all of these things?
To varying degrees. I dabble on all of them. And then I don't know if you can see, I do have a MIDI keyboard back there as well. So.
I see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have any sneak peeks for what our pieces are going to kind of be about or sound like? Oh, no sneak peeks.
I'm keeping them under wraps. But you will have, this is what I love about it, you will have the opportunity to pick your 4 or 5 favorites and perform those. So I don't want to sneak peek something right now that you end up being like,
understandable.
I was garbage and I'm not playing.
Do you have any dreams associated with composing or your career in general? Like something you would really love to make happen? Or like, never mind. What's your why? Like
my why?
Yes, your why. Why do you keep doing what you're doing?
That's a good question. There are a number of reasons. So first, what's the best way to say it? I really like relish being a culture creator. So I just read a book called You Are What You Love, which is like a Christian living book about like how our habits and things influence like our identity essentially. And so, yeah, I love I love my role in society as someone who like has this forum and is able to like share the things that I think about and to create beauty and to influence others and to communicate in that like special way. At the same time, if we're talking about career and not just composing, I love to teach. So I'm teaching quite a bit right now. We taught together at the University of Houston. And I just thrive in that environment. Like I said, I'm like a very just communal person. And so I love any chance that I can get to be talking to people all day, every day. So the teaching is really, really rewarding for me as well. So in the long term, I'd like to continue teaching. Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for upcoming composers or people that have thought about composing but just haven't jumped on that train yet?
Yeah, so I teach a lot of young composers right now. For the last 2 years, I've been teaching composers 101. So I've got some basic advice that I give them for sure. So early in the career, there are 2 things. Write a bunch of music. You aren't like aware of what your sound is right now. Like you have some preferences right now, but it's so beneficial for you to continue to write your preferences as often as possible and churn out as much music as you can, and write things that you don't think that you like right now. And maybe they'll become a part of your style and maybe you'll gain an appreciation for them. So write as much music as you can is thing number 1. And thing number 2 is listen to as much weird stuff as you can. Not just weird stuff, but listen to as much stuff as you can and make sure that some of it is weird stuff that you wouldn't naturally gravitate towards. Any of that is just like broadens your horizons and opens you up to do great things. We brought in Branford Marsalis like a jazz performer. And he told all of the students at SFA that you don't know what you like yet. You just like what you know, and you don't know a lot. So that's a great quote. Yeah, and so I bring that all the time for my students.
Yeah.
So you can't really know what you like and what you gravitate towards until you have a wide enough knowledge base to be able to definitively say the things that you don't prefer and do prefer. So write a lot of music, read a lot of music.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like, maybe not one secret thing, but like, what do you think is the most important habit to have as a composer?
Listening. Always. Yeah.
Love it. That's
Got to be a fantastic listener. Yeah.
Like to other people or to music or both? Or everything?
There's a lot that I could pack into that. I can unpack a little bit. Listen to your own music very attentively, like with a critical ear. Listen to other people's music again. So like I said, just like broaden your knowledge base and get new ideas and mood board with it and all of that. And listen as a part of the community. So support fellow artists, go to other composers, composition recitals, go to studio recitals that aren't at your university. Yeah, go out and listen and stay home and listen and do the listening all the time. Yeah, especially right now while we're all isolated, listen to as much good music as you can. And if you don't know what to listen to, email me and I will give you days and days of music to listen to.
I love it. Thank you so much for hopping on here and giving us away all your secrets for composing live and things like that. So
yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Personally.
I'm looking forward to being able to write for you guys. It's gonna be so fun.
Awesome. Can't wait to play it. Okay, yeah. Keep in touch. See ya.